Welcome Tangle friends. I'm Annie and today I'm going to show you one last project for the holiday season. We are deep into it and this is the weekend of the third Advent for the people who celebrate Christmas, and also winter solstice, is something we often associate with the Tannenbaum. So today we're going to do a Tangled Tannenbaum with two Zentangle headquarters tangles called Umble and Flux. And we all know Flux really well from many of my tutorials, but Umble is a really cool, simple tangle that is used usually in a different setting, but I am putting it as a wrap, ribbon wrap around our tree today. Also, I'm going to be showing you another kind of shading technique, shading with colored pens, my koi pens. And I've got my two gray shades, a light one and a medium one, and then two different reds. And I will put the exact numbers in the description below. But basically, if you have any kind of these are water brushes. They're called water coloring, water-based dye stuff ink. So you do have to be careful with them if you're messy like me. I also have a gel pen, a white gel pen, and I'm using both PN and 01 micron pens from Sakura in black. Always have your graphite pencil, and mine's a 3B. I like 3Bs on the phi tile because it's a very thick cardstock. And then, of course, our tortillion and a kneaded eraser in case we need to lift. So let's get started on this fun little tree. First, we're going to just make our string, which is basically an elongated triangle. And it's easiest to do that if you mark your points and draw to them. So I'm just going to do this freehand. If if you want to, you can use a ruler. I'm just going to freehand this in, and then you can always erase if you don't like the cone shape. And then we're going to do a non-botanical stem. A stem on a tree like this would not be this fat, but I really like this look of this graphic look. So you can do your stem how you wish. This also lets us do some nice line work and shading in it. All right, so you can continue on with your pencil, or you can just go right for Umble with your pen, which I'm going to do. I'm taking my PN, and I'm going to be making these bands, very much like halabah, really. And I started out making the bands like this. Well, let's see. Let's say we want to wrap around here. I started out with a little hook up there, and you can do that as well. But the truth of the matter is, if this were wrapped around a cone, you wouldn't see that little lip. It would just be pulled taut. So I ended up doing it this way. And it's easier, so let's go for that. Easy is good. Now, you want to make your umble stripe big enough that you can aura on the inside. And then just go for your own composition of crossovers. Oops, see, that's not fat enough, but luckily, I haven't got anything under it, and I can correct by putting my aura on the outside. Okay. This beautiful crossing over allows us to have some really dramatic shading. So that leaves us some negative space behind these umbles, in which we're going to fill in with our flux to make it look like a little Christmas tree. Now I'm going to change over to my 01 micron pen and just start going for it. Just make your fluxes. going in every which direction. Filling out that space. And then you can add perfs. And then of course in here you want to get that nice and dark behind each of those perfs and flux leaves so that you can really see them. This is such a wonderful process to just relax and enjoy. Okay, let's see, what are we going to do here? We could go, this is what I do in my ribbon class. I might just go ahead and fill in my tree with the flux and then come back and color. That's a bit more zen for me. Okay, let's see. Here's one. So let me just tell you, I did some experimenting in my sketchbook with this, and I did go outside the line with the flux leaves just to see what it would look like. And designerly wise, I didn't like it. So that's why I'm choosing this really straight edge here. I'm not going outside except for at the top. I think by varying the size of your flux leaf, you make a pretty composition. Let's see, let's come out of this corner. Maybe one crossing over. So here's where I went outside of my string line, and that's up to you. And then right in here, I'm going to make a nice big gem. Okay, now it's time to get in there with my pen and fill in all of these little dark areas. And at this point, you can get out your PN again. And then you can go back in and do a little bit of lively line. Especially where there's this crossover, that's also where our shading is going to go. Something like that. Maybe a little bit up here. Okay, so now we're ready. Oh, forgot my tree trunk. My non-botanical tree trunk. But I'm the artist and I can do what I want, right? And I'm going to put some lines in here, some hatching. Just to indicate a woody texture. Okay, now we're ready to shade, and this is really quick and fun. I absolutely love it. Of my two red pens, I'm going to be taking the lighter shade. So what I mean by that is, let's look at what they look like. It's a little bit hard to tell until you, this is definitely the brighter, lighter shade, and this would be the darker, more shading tool for our bands. So we're going to take the brighter one, which is the Koi pen Vermillion. And I'm just going to fill in. I'm leaving that orid line white. You can do what you want. You can make it gold. I just like the look of the fresh look of the red and white and black. You know, you can make your flux leaves green. You can make these little perfs red. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But I like this simple design with just few colors. I think it's much more elegant. Less cartoony. These koi brushes are wonderful. They let you really get into the corners with that tiny tip. And they have a really nice even fill. Look, it's not even looking streaky at all. I'm definitely making a few of these up that are going to be Christmas cards / gift tags. And they'd be so pretty also just to hang, right? To put a little ribbon in at the top and hang in. Done. Now watch some magic happen here. Taking my darker pen. Always where there's a crossover, just like in Holiday, we're going to do some shading underneath those ridges, so to speak. Got all the bridges. And then I'm going to also do some out here. This is just our general basic shading here first. And to get that transition a little smoother, you can take your other pen again and go right back over it, because that will make it just a little bit darker up there to give you a blend, right? Okay, the outside's probably going to get a little bit more darks with when we get into the gray, but we're going to shade our flux now. Always go along that midrib and deep dark down here. Then you have something to pull. So on these larger orbs, you can do that little comma shading that we often do, and then just pull that out. Now, you can do that with a pencil, or watch this. You can do it with your lighter pen, your koi pen. Look how much faster that goes. And if you want it a little darker in certain areas, like down here, you just take that next step up with your gray. And that's how I'm going to do it, because it's fast, effective, and beautiful. So let's watch that again. Taking of these two, I'm going to take the light cool gray first. And I see a spot that I missed. And then I'm going to take the next one, which is actually a warm gray. I like combining the two. And I'm going to just put those down. Go back over it with my light gray. Now you can't lift that, but we can go back on with our white jelly roll. So be careful to save out your highlights. It's a little darker down there. I'm just flicking it very lightly. And I'm going to shade a few of these just to give them a little bit of form, and then we'll go back in there with a little white dot. Oh, so this is what happened. This is what I want to tell you. These are watercolor based and they can get very messy. So I smeared here. You got to let them dry before you put your hand over them. And so that's gotten a little bit wonky. But you can take your jelly roll and dot it on to kind of lighten that up so that the red doesn't show through so much, and then go back over with the ink on top. But since these are water-based, they tend to smear really, really quickly, and that's why I also chose the very absorbing phi tile. It works best with that. So I'm glad I did that, because I did that on my other one all over out here, because I tend to drag my hand, and yeah, don't do that. And here we're going to shade a little bit under here. And then we're going to do the same thing over here, but don't go, well, you can if you're very careful. If you see what I just did, I want you to see that. If you drag your gray pen over the red, you're going to get red in here. So don't do that. Just try to stay within the color combination, the light and dark of one color. And before I go further, I'm just going to clean that up a little, and then I'll go back over it later after it's really dry with the gray. Okay, so I'm going to shade for the shape of the tree. And you can also, I'm using my lighter one now, get some shading under in these areas where there would be a little bit of a drop shadow from the Umble. And it just kind of makes it look really deep and mysterious down there. I'm using my lighter, whoops, no I am not, I'm using the dark one. I would suggest you use the lighter one. You can always give your light shading a double pass, if you know what I mean. So that one looks like it's really deep down in there. We're going to lighten that up a little bit. Put a little bit darker here. Get really dramatic. Blend it with the light a little. And now it's time to get our jelly roll out and put some highlights on those little baubles. Make sure your jelly roll is working. It's always a challenge for me. So remember, if it's not flowing really well, take it, roll it between your hands to really warm it up. And then I like to touch it on my warm skin, and that gets it flowing, and use a very light touch. And voila, there it comes. So this gives you a chance to clean up some of those little areas. These little leaflets are catching the frost, sticking up out there. Added another one in there. You could add another here. Clean up carefully if there's some bleeding going on. But as you see, this does blend with the koi. So you let that dry and then go over it again with the white. It's always good to work with new materials and learn their little idiosyncrasies. Oh, I did want to make my top bottle red. So I'm going to use that little kind of mini gemstone trick that I do on my tutorial of the gingerbread cookie. Save out the highlight. And then I do get my red pencil out. But you know what? This is so tiny. I'm just going to take my lighter one here, fill that in, and then shade with the little bit darker one. Works. So tiny. There's not much you can do wrong. And then, of course, really bright light here. You could do a little bit of that. And if you want, you can, go back in and clean up with your pencil. You can, you can layer pencil and pen, whatever you want. Just have fun experimenting with what works best for you. See how I'm cleaning that up a bit. So you want to get really dark in this area here. All right. I think we could probably, so now that that's dry, I'm just going to dot my jelly roll on top. As not to drag and blend it again. And then you can go back in with your black pen and bring back some of those veins. Clean up some areas. Yeah, good. Looking pretty fun, huh? And then if you feel like it, you can also obviously do a border. Borders are always great. And I think the more organic, the better. And then you can do your thick and thin, your diva dance lines. You can do whatever. That's where you have fun creating your own style. And I'm going to put my chop on, sign and date the back, and enjoy gifting this to someone on a present. One thing I forgot to show you that I did on my original little tree was I put a bit of a drop shadow under here. Of course, again, this is not super botanically correct, but it does lend itself to a wonderful graphic look. So here we go. Just put a little graphite and blend it. Makes the tree a little bit more grounded and believable. So I hope you like this project, and if you did, give me a thumbs up and share and show me your results on my student Facebook page. I do want to tell you I'm sorry if I don't get to answering all the comments right away. I'd rather spend the time on designing these little projects for you than sitting on my social media channels. So I am paying attention to what you write, and I appreciate all the comments, and I'm just telling you that, now, so you know I'm not ignoring you. I hope you have a lovely holiday season. I'm going to take a bit of a break because my daughter is coming for the holidays, and I want to spend my whole time with her. So I want to wish you all the very best for this rest of this holiday season. A Happy New Year, and hope to see you in the new year. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye for now.